Welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I am Star the Flippin' Hippo. Today is Saturday, February 8th, and we're going to talk about death piles. As most of you are probably aware, Keith and I took about 5 months off from sourcing. We took this extended break from going out for more inventory to take the time to go through our death piles and our I don't wannas and get them listed, sorted, donated, whatever it took to just get it all sorted through and taken care of so that we no longer had these piles of just stuff lying around while we continued to source and make the piles bigger. Y'all are familiar with death piles. Everybody has them. Death piles are typically piles of stuff that you don't mind dealing with. It's stuff you list on the regular basis, stuff you're familiar with, stuff you like sourcing, stuff you enjoy listing. It's just that you keep sourcing and you have so much stuff it starts to pile up because you're sourcing more than you're listing or selling. And those are your death piles. If you're not familiar with the I don't wannas, these are the other types of piles of the stuff you don't want to deal with. It's stuff that after you get it home, you wonder why in the heck you even sourced it in the first place. It's going to take a lot of research, time, work, effort to get it listed, whether it's the amount of time it's going to take to clean it and prep it or research it. Sometimes we just get stuff home and we're like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't even know why I sourced it. And then those things start to pile up. But there is a huge difference. The death piles are typically things you're going to get listed and things you want to deal with. And the I don't wannas are just that. I don't wanna. So let's just put it over here and not deal with it. Our death piles and our I don't wanna piles were big. They were huge. 5 months is a long time to go without sourcing and continue to list every day. Now, to be fair, we did have our bulk or wholesale buy of remotes that we did last year where we purchased 3,000 remotes, and that's what Keith has been working on. But I have been consistently listing 10 to 20 new items a day on eBay without sourcing for 5 months. So that tells you how big those death piles were. So I went through the death piles first because those are things we like to work on and they're exciting, and sometimes you start digging in there and getting in there and finding things you forgot about. Exciting things that are worth money, things that should have been listed a long time ago, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I let this get buried. Death piles can be kind of exciting once you really, roll your sleeves up and get in there. And then, of course, I had to work on the dreaded I don't wanna piles. And I did a little bit at a time. We're going to talk about tips and tricks on what you should do to tackle these piles. So as of today, we no longer have death piles. I have behind me on the chair where you see Henry and Hannah, there's a small stack of women's and men's tops that actually were not from the death piles. You guys, at the same time that I was working through the death piles and the I don't wannas, I was simultaneously going back through all of our inventory and double checking it against eBay and Poshmark and making sure it was still listed. And I've talked about this before, how sometimes items just seem to fall off of eBay. There's no reason for it. No one knows why. Things just sometimes fall off of eBay. Probably due to the antiquated coding and platform that it is. But sometimes you go back through your inventory and you'll find items that fell off, and that's why it's so important. And I say this all the time, so I'm sorry if you've heard me say this before, but it's so important that at least a couple times a year you go back through your inventory and just double check and make sure that things are still listed. So there's a small pile behind me of men's and women's tops that I found going through the inventory that weren't listed. So there's like maybe 10 to 15 of those, which is like a day's worth of photography and listing for me. And then underneath of those is the remainder of our death pile. It's a small pile of women's coats that they were kind of a death pile, but kind of an I don't want a pile because they're all really long trench coats, and I just didn't feel like dealing with the setup for the photographs. It's not that big of a deal. All I have to do is move the table out where the mannequins sit back there and then hang the coats so they're long. But for some reason, that always seemed like so much trouble and so much hassle. I mean, in comparison, to plush and jeans, which I really enjoy listing. It kind of is a pain in the butt. But there's only a handful of those left, plus the shirts. So I got like 2 days worth of photography and listing behind me. So I'm not even counting it as a death pile anymore, because there's not so much that it's overwhelming. There's not a huge pile. I've got 2 days worth of work behind me, and that's it. No more. All the we do have one box if I don't want, as I'm going to touch on in a minute. But as far as death piles and things that need to get gone through and get listed, they're gone. The death piles are gone. I have one small pile that's going to have it done by Tuesday, between Monday and Tuesday. And there's one pair of jeans back there that I found that fell off, but I'm going to wait until I have more jeans to make it worthwhile to sit here and measure and photograph. So we have absolutely no more death piles. We do, however, have one more box of I don't wannas down here that I want to work on. It's electronic plush. So there's this big box full of all of these plush that I've been setting aside for a long time, because when I'm in the midst of a photography session and I'm doing plush, I'm going really, really fast. I can typically photograph 20 to 40 plush in an hour, depending on the plush. If I have to stop and like spot clean and lint roll, it's more like 20. But if they're all really in nice shape and don't need the spot cleaning and the lint rolling, I can do up to 40 an hour. And I fly through it. I'm pretty fast. I do it all sitting down to accommodate my back. And when I run into plush that are going to need some extra work, I either spray them, like if they need extra washing, they'll get sprayed down with Awesome and set aside to go through the washing machine. But if they're like electronic plush, I'm not going to stop right then to test them out, because when I'm doing my hour of, I don't know why that was in quotes. When I'm doing my hour of photography, I'm trying to go as fast as I can to get as much done as I can. So I'll set them aside, and now I have a big box full. So I have a project there where I'll sit down with a screwdriver and some AAAs and some AA's, and I'll just take each plush and open them up, pop the batteries in, test it, see if it works. If it doesn't, it will get redonated and go towards a tax write-off for 2020. And if it works, then I'll photograph it and get them listed. So I did save up a box. I don't know if they're I don't wannas. It's more of kind of like a, I don't want to have to take the time to open the plush up, unscrew it, put the batteries in, and test it while I'm photographing. So I just save them up in a big pile to work on. And also in that box are some plush that I have to decide if I'm going to redonate them or run them through the washer. They just need kind of like an extra work. And there's one board game in there I have to go through and see if all the pieces are in it to see if I'm going to list it. So we're down to this one last box of plush that need tested and the small pile behind me. So I'm feeling pretty accomplished and feeling pretty proud of myself. How big was our death pile? It was huge. We haven't really sourced in 5 months, and we've had enough inventory here to sustain me listing 10 to 15 new items a day, 10 to 20. 10 to 20, an average of 15. And I was trying to say all of that at once. But anyway, so we're going to go sourcing tomorrow for the first time in a very long time, so I'm kind of excited about that. But I also wanted to share with you guys some tips and tricks for you to keep in mind if you want to tackle your death piles and get rid of them. Just kind of like the mindset you need to be in and what you should be doing to prepare yourself for that. The first thing you have to do is say, my death piles are overwhelming, there's too much, I'm not going to go sourcing until I've gotten through these. And you have to be determined and you have to be dedicated to this decision. You just have to get to a point where you say there is enough inventory here. I just need to get it all listed before I go buy more. Then you need to ignore your FOMO, the fear of missing out. That's big. I felt it a lot in the very beginning months of this not sourcing streak. Of course there's the fear of missing out. You wonder what's out there at the thrift stores that you're not getting. But that will eventually go away. And it gets replaced with a different kind of excitement as you go through these death piles and find these amazing, exciting finds that you forgot about, that got buried, that should have been listed. I found so many amazing things in our death pile, from Disney ornaments and plush that was worth lots of money to really great brands of clothing. Just exciting, amazing things. I found a bag full of bags. I found a giant duffel bag from the Cleveland Indians with their old logo on it. That's pretty cool in and of itself. But inside that duffel bag was a vintage Looney Tunes all over print with all the characters tote bag. There was a Vegas tote bag, a Mickey Mouse tote bag. There was just so many bags in here that were like, wow, these should have been listed a long time ago. And here they were all crammed inside this duffel bag. So the FOMO is real. You will definitely have that fear of missing out. But I'm here to tell you it will go away the deeper into your death piles you get, because it's getting replaced with the excitement of, oh, I forgot about this. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this never got listed. The third thing is you need to just get in a mindset of, I'm going to get this done and I'm not going to go spend more money until these items are listed. And part of that mindset is to imagine everything in your death piles, all of the items lying around your house, all of this inventory waiting for you to list it. Don't imagine it as the hard goods, the plush, or the clothing that it is. Look at it like it's money. Look at it like you have piles of money lying around your house, because that's basically what it is at the end of the day. You spent money on these items, you threw them in a corner, you forgot about them, and you continue to go out every week, week after week, spending more money on more items that you put into this pile that you forget about, and you go out and spend more money. And it's a cycle. Once you look at those piles as piles of money, if you spend $100 on everything in that pile, imagine that pile is a $100 bill. Why are you ignoring it? Why are you walking around it? Why are you putting it where you can't see it, out of sight, out of mind? If it's on your floor, why are you walking over it? It's money. And the only way that that pile is going to actually turn into money is if you work on it and get it listed, get it up. You're spending money on your inventory, and if you're not listing the inventory, you're basically wasting money. You're throwing money away. The reason we as resellers go out into the world and spend money on items is so that we can bring them home, flip them, get our return of investment on them. We get our cost of goods back and we get a nice profit. And then we take that and we turn it around. And that's the whole point of reselling. That's the entire business. You spend money, you flip the items for more money so you can get more items, so you can sell those for more money. But if all the items that you're bringing in are just sitting there and not getting listed, you're missing half of the cycle of what being a reseller is about. You're just being a shopper. You're going out and you're spending all this money and bringing the items home, spending money, bringing the items home, but you're missing that huge important piece of selling those items to get your investment back and make a profit. So at that point, you aren't really behaving like a reseller. You are behaving like a shopper or a hoarder. And that's tough for some people to hear, but that's basically what you're doing. You're hoarding these items, you're shopping, but you're not being a reseller. So get yourself into that mindset of, why am I spending all this money? Just throw it on the floor and not get a return on my investment. Number 4, you need to get organized before you really get into it. So you need to start by sorting. I absolutely recommend starting by sorting. And do a little bit a day. You guys, your death pile, no matter how small or how big your death pile is, it did not get that way in a day. And it will not get done in a day. It will not get fixed in a day. It takes a long time to build a big death pile, and you're never going to get through it in a day. So don't stress about that. Don't overwhelm yourself or make yourself anxious about it. Just realize, this is my pile and I'm going to start working on it, and absolutely just a little bit every day, whatever you can handle, whatever you have the time for. If you want to list 10 items a day or 20 items a day, you're going to get 10 items or 20 items out of that death pile, and you're going to do them. And you don't have to be overwhelmed and think you have to do it all in one day. But again, I absolutely recommend sorting. So go into those piles and make piles of jeans, men's and women's, tops, sweaters, jackets, hard goods, plush, electronics, remotes, whatever kind of stuff you have, coffee mugs, books, Whatever you have, organize them into alike piles, and then you can work on one type of item until it's gone, or you can rotate so you don't get bored. That's what I have to do. I can't, once I had everything sorted into what they were, I can't just work on one thing forever. I get bored very easily. So I would work on plush on Monday, tops on Tuesdays, jeans on Wednesdays, Thursdays would be hard goods, etc. So you can either, go through like that and rotate what you're working on, or all of one thing until it's gone. But definitely get them sorted into piles so that you're only working on one type of item at a time. That's a way to save time when you're photographing and you're listing. If you have all of the same type of item, you can get your work done much, much quicker when it comes to photographing, measuring, and listing. And, again, set a goal, X amount per day. I want to take 10 of the items and photograph them every day and get them listed, and then maybe I want to sort through 50 or set a timer for half an hour. You guys can work by how many items you want to sort or how much time you want to spend each day, and set a timer and stick to it. Again, it did not get that way in a day, and you will not fix it in a day. So do not kill yourself or stress out trying to get it done in very little time. The fifth thing you need to do is be willing to let go. You need to assess the value of these items that are in your death pile. A lot of times, some of the items in our death piles, like at the very bottom as you get towards the end of it, when you start to feel that relief and see that light at the end of the tunnel, I'm getting to the end of my death pile, you're going to get to the bottom of it to where maybe these items were sourced a long time ago and have been sitting around for a very long time, and in that time you've learned. You've learned how to source better. You've learned how to recognize better brands and items that are worth more money. So maybe the things at the end of the death pile were from a while ago before you were as educated, and may have been items that you probably shouldn't have sourced in the first place and really aren't worth the effort to list it. So you have to have that mindset as well. You have to be willing to let go and assess items as you go through the death pile. Is the value of this item going to be worth the amount of work it's going to take to photograph it and get it listed? If the answer is yes, then of course you sort it into those piles that you're going to work on. If the answer is no, redonate it and take the write-off next year. Get yourself a big box wherever you're working and dump all the stuff in there that you're going to get rid of. You don't want to put the work into stuff that's been sitting around forever that's not going to be worth the amount of time you're putting into it. And then if you want to get into your I don't wannas, I don't recommend working on those every single day, because again, the death piles are typically almost always stuff you enjoy working on, things you like. You sourced them because you wanted to list it. It's just that you sourced so much that you got overwhelmed. You kept sourcing beyond the point of how fast you could list. And so those death piles are just items waiting for you, and they're things you enjoy going through. And the I don't wannas, well, they're called I don't wannas, and they're in these piles for a reason, because you never want to deal with them in the first place. So I don't recommend working on those every day, because you'll burn out real quick and you'll get discouraged. Pick one day a week, set a timer, go through them. And the I don't wanna piles are really where you gotta have that be willing to let go mindset and decide, why is this in the I don't wannas? What is wrong with it? How much work is it going to take? Why did it end up over here? What is it about this item that I didn't want to deal with? Is it just because you need to put batteries in it and test it? Well, then maybe you could put batteries in it and test it. But if it was because it's going to require an hour of cleaning, well, you might want to comp it. Is it worth it? If it's a $500 item, then yeah, clean it for an hour. If it's a $20 item, put it in that box, redonate it, and take the write-off. But, just pick one day a week, set your timer, or say I'm going to do this many items for my I don't want as a week. Maybe 10, maybe 5, whatever. But definitely the I don't want is where you really have to assess, why did it end up over here? What is it about this item that I didn't want to deal with? And if you still don't want to deal with it, get rid of it. There's no sense in having it sit around and take up room and be in your peripheral vision as this project that you're avoiding, stressing you out. If you still don't want to deal with it, don't. If it's worth the money, do. So just make a plan and do it. That's all you got to do. And you and yourself can only determine how your plan's going to go. We decided that we were not going to source until all of our death piles were gone. Some people like to go out all the time. They get FOMO really bad. As long as you can control yourself and just cherry pick when you're doing this cleaning out, getting rid of your death piles, I think that would be okay. But for us, we just basically said not until they were gone. So you can say, until all my death piles are gone, I'm only going to go out once a week, and I'm only going to cherry pick for the most expensive and best items to flip. Or you can say, I'm not going to go sourcing at all until half my death piles are gone. Or until I make X amount of money off of the stuff I'm listing for my death piles. Or until all my death piles are gone. You have to assess for yourself which plan is going to work best for you. Everyone works differently. Everyone has different levels of dedication. Everyone has different reward-based triggers. So you have to decide how much you can do before you need to reward yourself. I really just wanted rid of all the piles. So I said no sourcing until those were gone. But you can do half. You can say I'm going to list $100 worth of items, $500, whatever's going to work for you. And if you really can't go without sourcing at all, try to stick it to like one day a week, a couple stores, and be the cherriest picker of the cherry pickers of the cherry picked. And just work through them. Just be determined and be dedicated and get in that mindset. Get yourself organized. Get things sorted into piles. Start looking through all the things you forgot you had. You'll feel that excitement and you'll feel the need to get through it and want to get it all listed. It is really exciting when you start finding the stuff. It's like, woo, I forgot about this. Why is this in here? Why is this buried in this pile? This should have been listed. So it definitely was a process. It definitely took almost 5 months. It was a lot of work, but we're done. All I gotta do is test a box of Plush and this little pile behind me. Full disclosure, there is a small area in our storage room upstairs that we lovingly refer to as the serial killer room. There's a little area up there with a small pile. It's like a table, and under the table is some boxes and some bags of some more I don't wannas. We kind of put them up there for now. We're going to continue to work through those, but what's under there and those I don't wannas is definitely not enough to sustain us for me to continue to list every day. Keith's working on the remotes, but I need items to list every day. And what's up there is definitely going to require some elbow grease and some hard work and not sustain me to quickly go through items and list every day. So we're going to continue to go through those, but we're through the stuff that can be listed, and we get to go sourcing tomorrow again, and that's my reward for all my work. So yeah, no more death piles, yay! And you can do it too. Just be determined and dedicated. And again, I can't stress enough to you guys to think of these piles as money that's just laying on your floor, laying in a pile, laying in a bin, wherever you keep your death piles. It's just money that you're ignoring at the end of the day. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys. Hit the thumbs up before you leave. It really helps the channel. Don't forget to join our Facebook group. We're the Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod on Facebook. There's a link in the description box down below for you to join. And if you haven't already and you'd like to, please subscribe to our channel and help us feed a hungry hippo. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We're at Flippin' Hippos across all social media. Until next time, guys, go be productive. Go make some money. Go get through your death piles. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. Bye.